Hello, welcome back to my restoration repaint project for this Hai Nu Ver Ka. And if you watched the first episode, I'm sure you're thinking, wait a minute, you said you were going to strip the rest of the paint off these parts before the next episode, and that was the plan. However, as I started to scrub on those other parts that had already soaked with the toothbrush and tried to clean them off, I found that it was a lot of work. So here's an example. On the edges, it was really hard to get all of the black primer off. On the undersides, I didn't really even try that hard. I figured I will be sanding these and priming them, so this is probably fine, but I still wanted to see if there's a better way to strip the primer off of those parts. Just for reference, I dug around in my paint bucket out in the garage, and I'm pretty sure that this is the primer that I used. It's an acrylic polyurethane black primer. It had been on the parts for somewhere around 4.5 or 5 years, and so it really just isn't wanting to come off from soaking in the purple power. I did some research and I found there's another line of degreaser cleaners that are green, right? They're called Simple Green or Mean Green, all of those, that series, and they have a different chemistry. So I figured we would do a little experiment here and go purple versus green and see which one cleans the parts better, at least if, in my case, for the paints and the primer that I used. And this at least will give me a way to hopefully have less work to clean the rest of these parts off. So what I have here is a tub of brand new purple powder poured from the bottle. This is what the bottle looks like, in case you're curious. And I have a tub of Mean Green, which looks like this. And I have two of the same part. They're just the shin part from the front of these legs. Now, the bare plastic underneath these parts should be white. And then on top of that white bare plastic, there's a layer of the black primer that I just showed you. And then there's a layer of acrylic white. I'm pretty sure it was just this acrylic white, and I don't remember what I thinned it with back when I first did the paint on this kit. And then on top of that, there's a gloss layer, and I believe it was just Future floor polish. And so we're gonna see whether the purple or the green takes those 3 layers of paint off more easily. And all I'm gonna do is drop each part in each color. I'm gonna let these sit here for about 24 hours. We will cut the video and I'll be back tomorrow for us to look and see what this is for you. It'll just be a couple seconds. I'll see you then. Okay, we're back. For me, it's tomorrow. For you, it's probably not, unless you paused the video for 24 hours while you were watching. And if so, props to you for your dedication to preserving the timeline. All right, let us open these things up and see what we've got. I've tried real carefully to make sure that I didn't move these around or stir them at all. I wanted these parts to just sit here so we can see what they look like. And I'll try to bring this one over a little closer to the camera. All right, so both of them look about the same. I think the white that I'm seeing on here is still paint, and then the black we're seeing is the base coat underneath. Let's start with the purple one, and I'll fish it out. And yeah, that white paint is definitely just sitting loosely on the surface there. I'm gonna grab a paper towel and we'll just give this a little clean off. Okay, so definitely the black primer is still pretty solidly on this piece. See if we can scrub with a toothbrush and if that does anything. And it does. So this is what roughly equivalent to what I was seeing with those other parts that had soaked in the same purple powder. And it does take quite a lot of effort to get this primer off. I will go ahead and clean the rest of this piece. I'll probably time lapse this because it's going to take a little while. Alright, so that's about as clean as I can make it. I had the same problems that I had before, especially with edges. So these narrower edges are really hard to get clean if I scrub this way with the toothbrush or perpendicular. Both ways doesn't seem like it wants to take that paint off those edges. If I scrape at it with my thumbnail, yeah, I can kind of get it off. Still not great. So same results that I saw before. That was probably about 4 or 5 minutes of scrubbing with the toothbrush just for this one piece to get it mostly clean, and there's still a little bit of the black primer in the panel lines and especially on the back side where there are little indentations and other issues, and the toothbrush doesn't really get down in there. So setting that one aside for a second, let's check out what happened with the green stuff. Same sort of result with the white paint is very loosely on the surface. Grab a clean paper towel. And as I rub that off, the black primer is coming off as well. So just with this paper towel, I can actually get this thing most of the way clean, it looks like. What about on the inside? It's not bad. Alright, what's left looks kind of like a gunk wash. It's just the black primer collected in some of the panel lines and the little recesses. Let's see if I can work that out with a toothbrush. Yeah, so this is getting really clean, and it's a whole lot easier. What about here on the back side? And on the narrow edges. Yeah, this is looking really good. Let me rinse this thing off so we can see. So there's still a few little areas here where the paint didn't come completely off. I could probably work those off, and again, that will sand down as well. But overall, that was a much easier process. Really only required rubbing the primer layer off with a paper towel and then working with a toothbrush to get the little crevices and panel lines and such. So, at least for me, green is better than purple for the setup and the paints that I'm using here. So, I'm going to use the green stuff to strip the rest of the paint from the parts. And then once that's done, I will see you back for the next steps. Until then, have a good day, and I'll see you next time.